he had a daughter that it gets crazy with her too. So there was one daughter that was adopted as well that he actually said, because that lady, Pharaoh, she adopted all those kids.
Yeah, yeah.
The Asians and all that stuff. But then she told him, like, let's have a kid. So she adopted. And then he really got her fond to one that was like Rubia.
Okay.
And he was like, I want to adopt too. So he also adopted. He's like, I'm going to be
Gotcha.
their legal father.
Okay.
But then that nigga did some crazy, weird shit. So
Gotcha.
you hear it from the daughter's standpoint.
Oh, okay.
So the daughter's like, she's saying when she saw the Asian, she goes, it's not, the naked pictures is not only her, it was me too. And she was like 8 years old.
Damn.
So it's crazy. It's a crazy thing. I watched the first episode. It's interesting. The crazy thing is that, like, he's been chilling throughout this whole thing. But I saw that. I've been watching F is for the Family. I was watching that just before because just happened. I wanted to watch a cartoon. But when I came back, they started season 4. I didn't know. So I started watching that. And I've been watching The Food Built in America.
I've been watching.
Did you watch the McDonald's one versus Burger King?
Yes, I did.
That shit was crazy.
That was good. They bought that guy out from Burger King who created the grill.
Yeah.
And he thought... I didn't know Pillsbury, the Pillsbury
Me neither.
company, bought them out.
That's what I like about it.
Bought him out
Yeah.
and kept the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried to come up with ideas. And the way McDonald's didn't... A lady, his secretary came up with the name for Big Mac. But it was to compete against the Whopper because the Whopper was the one...
Taking over.
Yeah. But then this motherfucker came out. One of the guys that owned a McDonald's came up with the fish sandwich.
Filet of fish.
And that started getting...
And that guy was like, why don't we just add mayo or something and just put two
it was
buns.
cool the way they break it down for you because I haven't watched the movie yet that's on Netflix. I think it's called The Founder.
That's a good show. That's a good movie.
And I think after watching that episode, I think I want to watch it now.
No, it's a good movie.
Yeah?
It's a good story. Like,
maybe I'll
Michael
watch it
Keaton
tomorrow.
plays that guy good.
So maybe I'll watch it tomorrow. But I like how they had the broiler already.
Yeah.
But then he did some tweaks to it, and then it became better.
Yeah.
And then each of their Burger King, and it wasn't even called Burger, it was called Insta Burger King. And you're like, oh shit, you would never think of it. And it was only in Florida, and then they started spanning out.
I was telling my girl when I was watching, I was like, yo, there's always two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we're not related, but we're gonna have to start something
We're gonna have to something, but
the chicharron burger.
Or the Chuleta burger.
Yeah.
And then the new one that's coming out is about Kraft American
I actually
cheese.
watched it. I watched it today.
Tomorrow.
That one was alright, but yeah, I watched that Kraft cheese. So those are pretty much the only shows I've watched. Like I think I mentioned, I Care a Lot. I actually finished.
That's a good movie.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, good movie.
Good acting.
I won't ruin the ending, but if next week we talk about it, I am gonna spoiler alert to everybody. I watched the whole Notorious B.I.G. Netflix documentary.
Oh yeah, I watched pretty much most of it.
That was pretty good. Another one I watched is called Pele from the Brazilian soccer players on Netflix.
That one just came out, yeah.
It's a little slow, but it gets more into. You see how they say Michael Jordan was never into. You didn't know his political background. Like, he would never choose something.
Yeah.
So it was almost the same thing for Pelé and how racism, like, he was, negro.
Yeah.
And when he went to other countries, they would think, oh, this and that. And they never knew what was his political background. He never chose something. He was always in the middle. Mm-hmm. And he never got discriminated just because he was Pele. But this is like, you see black and white images. You see like him in the World Cup in like 1958, 1964. Mm-hmm. So it goes back. Then it brings some of his old players and they're all talking and about back in those days, like how Pele was considered one of the best and how some Brazilian people were against him and what Brazil was going through while that whole soccer phenomenon shit was going on. So it's like almost 2 hours. It's in Portuguese, but then you get the Spanish subtitles, or you get the Spanish person speaking. So that was the cool thing that, he's speaking Portuguese, but he speaks English and Spanish. So sometimes you hear him speak both, and it's just cool seeing him interact with his old soccer players and stuff like that. So I watched that.
One thing and I'm gonna cut you off. So when I was in Mexico, I think it was me and my girl were flying out Tuesday. So we were like, let's try to take as much advantage of the pool, and that's part of the day we drank a lot in a short period of time. We started taking shots on it. We started talking to the bartender. And I started telling him about in Mexico, like, who do you like follow and all this stuff, like in terms of like sports and all this stuff. So he was telling me, he was like, antes era like soccer. He goes, Cancun had their own team. They were pretty good, but after 3 years, like, they quit. So I told him, boxeo. He goes, no. He goes, lo que vemos mucho, lo hacemos mucho aquí, esto. Which people,
you just threw a shot at yourself.
It's basically drinking. He goes, and I was cracking up, and I was like, that's the sport that they do. He goes, that's what we do over here. It's drinking. He just started taking his thumb and drinking. I'm like, what the fuck? He goes, yeah, we don't really want, because, I was asking him about wrestling. I told him, where do they have wrestling? I want to come back. And I want to go to watch a wrestling.
That's my whole thing.
And he told me they don't really have it as much. That a lot of it died out. And then he started talking about soccer. He goes, same thing with soccer. Soccer died out. I'm like, so what is it now? And I was like, is it boxing? He goes, no, amigo, es más la bebienda. So like people drinking. So even with that too, I know the day before I was talking to some guy on the beach who was trying to sell me something like tickets to Cocobongo. And that's the night that Canelo was fighting Saturday.
Okay. Yeah.
So he was telling us, I'm going to go to this spot. We want to go watch the fight. And we're like, yeah, we'll probably go. But for some reason, I think the time is the same as us. I just know we got to our room like 10-something and the fight was already done.
Yeah, it was like a second or first round knockout or something.
So I was like, oh, shit. And I was so stupid. I think my phone was working back then. I forgot that I had the PTV.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, oh shit, the Knicks were playing the Pistons. I'm like, go watch the Knicks game. But the Wi-Fi was so sucks I couldn't watch it. But the guy was even telling me, I used to fucking hate Canelo. Like, I didn't respect him, but now I do. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from, because you thought he was like De La Hoya.
Yeah.
Pretty boy. And then he was like, yeah. And I told him about Ryan Garcia. He's like, I don't know who's that. He needs to get punched first. But
that's fucking crazy.
Sorry to cut you off.
Nah,
Other shows?
Good. The Care-a-Lot, Biggie, Pele. There's 2 new Netflix shows that came up to my thing, but I've been watching this food thing. It's called The Chef Show, with Jon Favreau, who had the movie called The Chef. That Lee had told me to watch, but I always saw it on Netflix and I never wanted to watch it. But it's basically just a chef at a restaurant who ends up with a food truck and goes from there.
And the relationship with his son too.
And his son, and John Leguizamo's in it. Sofia Vergara's in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of pretty good actors.
Fucking Robert Downey Jr.'s in it. So Jon Favreau is the ex-husband of Sofia Vergara, and then Robert Downey Jr. is her ex-husband too.
Yes.
So Robert Downey Jr. was the one that bought him the truck. And
yes. He went to his office.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So it was funny. So at the same time, I guess Jon Favreau got so much into cooking that he did a show for Netflix called The Chef Show. So it shows him with the trainer, the chef who trained him how to be a cook for the movie. So they travel around LA, Vegas, Austin, Texas, and they go to speak to different chefs on their techniques and stuff like that. So I've been just watching that. I know this weekend comes out Coming to America 2. Everybody's
Came
waiting
out
for
tonight,
that.
yeah.
In 2 weeks, we got the re-release of Justice League, the movie that everybody's been waiting for because it's a Zack Snyder cut. So in 2 weeks, March 19th, that's the one we're waiting for. I still haven't watched WandaVision. Barry keep telling me to watch, but I'm waiting for it to finish so I could binge it in one whole shot. I hear it's getting better towards the end of the season. The beginning is slow, but then it's ending.
Yeah,
pretty
I
good.
think I watched 2 seasons. They're only like a 30-something episode. 30 minutes is an episode.
30 minutes, yeah, it's like a half hour. It's like, I think it should be 8 episodes. I'm just waiting for Barry to tell me, it's all done so I can start watching it. But not this Sunday begins
the
again.
Steve Austin one I've been watching.
I think I'm one episode behind that.
I watched the McHale one.
I haven't watched that one yet.
I think that's been it with TV shows. I've pretty much been watching.
And just Shameless is coming back this Sunday, and then we're gonna have like 5 brand new episodes. It's like back to back to back. So that's basically what I've been watching. I'm just waiting for these movies to
I
come
also
out.
watched the one that Albert brought up, I think, in the last podcast, which is it's like a virtual reality. It's
the Bear Grylls.
Yeah. So what's the name of the show?
Fuck! I send you guys the pic.
We can find it now, but Albert told me to watch it, and like he described it to me, not so much on I think on the last podcast, but he described it to me
On a text I send you and Santi.
yeah, and then like I was just like, so I told my girl yesterday, I was like, let's watch it. Damn, I finished watching it, so it doesn't show up, but it's called it's something like virtual or something, and it's basically you're watching a show from I believe Australian.
It's Bear Grylls. He's like a outdoors guy.
Yeah, Bear Grylls, and he's an Australian, and as you're watching the movie or whatever, he has different things. It's kind of like if you put on a VR headset, sort of like you're in the movie, sort of, and then there's certain times that they'll ask you, hey, an example, like a snake started choking him while he was in the river, and then he asks you like, should I swim below the water so the snake can let me go, or should I continue fighting the snake? And then you pick on your control.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole bunch of that stuff during the whole process of the show. So you pretty much,
so it's like
an
an interactive
like a game. Yeah, it's an interactive. Exactly what Al said. It's pretty cool. I watched that yesterday. I actually was like thinking, I'm like, yeah, I should just smoke and watch it. That will make it even more cooler. But I was like, nah, let me just chill. But so yeah, that's the only other thing that came. I know The Dark Knight just made it to Netflix, so that's trending pretty high.
I didn't even know they had The Conjuring too.
Yeah, so
see, that's the one I have on my list, the Samurai one. I'm gonna wait for that. I'm gonna probably give that like a watch. It's like a documentary / it talks about.
Oh, it's called Animals on the Loose, people.
Oh, there it is.
Animals on the Loose, a You Wild movie.
A You versus Wild. Yeah. It's a pretty cool thing. Like if you just want to watch it and just see what's going on. But yeah, it's everybody's just waiting for these movies to stream on HBO Max because there's new movies. Like I was telling Lee yesterday, Pop Smoke, who got killed last year, the year before. He's in a movie that's coming out today. It's called Boogie, based on a Asian kid who wants to become a basketball player, and I think the movie's filmed down at LES, and it almost reminds me of Above the Rim. If you guys ever watched it, oh look, Coming to America's already on the app.
Yeah.
Woo-wee! I know what I'm watching tomorrow. So yeah, man, those are my picks for this week. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna watch Coming to America, the first one, before I watch the second one, and go from there. Any other stuff you got?
No, other than that, man, nothing really in terms of shows or anything like that. There's a lot of shows I haven't watched and caught up with. But yeah, we'll just continue talking like we always do every fucking week. I haven't watched The Young Rock. I only